his mirror, his Northern Realms lineup to be favored for the mirror. So Big Kuku has a big hill to climb here, but if any deck can do it, it is this Northern Realms alumni deck. And we're jumping in.
Yeah, jumping right in. It is time, ladies and gentlemen, for Gwent Masters Season 3. It's the finale, the first match, the first game. Welcome, friends. I am Flake. I'm joined, as always, by Shin Miri. We're bringing you the action here of BIGKUKURUZINA versus KAMS. It is going to be Northern Realms on blue coins with the Inspired Zeal. It's a mage deck, friends, versus KAMS on red, playing Precision Strike Control with Maddock. I am liking this matchup straight away. BIGKUKURUZINA is basically going to be... He's going to be feeding the wolves for a few turns here. Looking at this lineup, it looks like KAMS is just basically going to be playing point-click-delete for a few turns here, as Big KK is going to have to be literally just tossing all these mages out to the wolves to be fed for a little while here. How can BIGKUKURUZINA get out of round one?
Yeah, I mean, he's on blue coin, so he is at risk of potentially losing this round on even. He's got a lot of mages in his hand, which is good, but you look at KAMS' hand, he's got bomb after answer after bomb after more bombs. Like, everything is there. He has even a Purify if Big Kuku wants to go for something like a defender here with this Amphibious Assault. This is going to be, yeah, super tough. I think this matchup is very favored for Qcento, especially from red coin. We'll see what if Big Kuku has some sort of strategy, because these deck lists have been revealed to the players about 24 hours in advance. So there's been a decent amount of time for all these players to practice these matchups. So maybe Big Kuku will find some sort of weakness, some sort of hole in something. Maybe not this deck particularly, but something. We'll see what he can come up with.
And this is the first piece of the puzzle, right? Shamir, you mentioned the importance of Donimir of Troy as a defender, and there are so many different ways to deal with it, and that's such a wonderful card to play because it purifies before it deals the damage, so the shield is taken away and stripped away along with the defender status. And so the first bomb is dropped by KAMS, the defender, that important element to protecting your strategy, gone and done. So KAMS, with that first play, has really just thrown a wrench at Big KK's strategy here. If that Purify bomb was not in hand, he may have had an opportunity to perhaps buy some time. But now, like I mentioned, it's just, who do I send out there to die in a small fire? That's basically what's about to happen here.
Yeah, which is this lamb up to slaughter first? Aratuza student or Van Ard student? Looks like it's going to be the Aratuza student, because Big Kuku has two of them in his hand. So a little bit more expendable in this scenario. And it's going to buff it up with the tactical advantage to 9 power, but we're going to see... I think we're going to see that Epidemic, first time played in a Gwent tournament. This can answer a 9 power student. It's that good in this matchup.
It's exceptionally good. The other opportunity here is perhaps this might be the best, let's say, red haze that might occur, but you're not really killing that student. The best option here is going to be to Epidemic it. This is why this card is in here. Again, it's a point-click delete of a 4 provision card, so that tactical advantage might make that Aratuza student look untouchable. But there it is, Epidemic for the first time, ladies and gentlemen. Mark your calendars. Where were you when Epidemic was played in a Gwent Masters tournament? Well, it was played here December 4th, 2021, on a 9-point student. Wonderful to see. And again, yeah, Donimir of Troy just punchless, just watching as he could do nothing. He was stripped away of his defender title on the first turn.
And I just want to point out, like, if there was no Epidemic in that situation, it would take a lot of it would be really difficult for KAMS to answer that, because you could use like full leader plus a D-bomb maybe, or like full leader plus a red haze. It's just a lot of overcommitment to answer one student. You can't even move it with the making a bomb, because while moving it would stop the order from being clicked, the patience still accumulates even if the student is on the wrong row. So Epidemic really coming in clutch here, and now we see the second Aratuza student, this time played from Queen Adalia, with the shield, but shield not too big of an issue for a leader like Precision Strike.
Yeah, he can just ping it and kill it with one of the Dimeridium bombs. Also, smart placement of the Adalia. Putting it in the front row has essentially turned off the making a bomb instant damage. Now that's going to be a bleed, given that both rows are now are occupied. So it's not going to be a clean, clear kill on the next student, Aretuza student that shows up. So, you know, again, small little details like this will matter. But again, it is going to be an uphill climb here for Big KK to actually figure out how the hell he's going to get any of these mages past 2 patients.
Yeah, this is mage number 3. Student number 3. So far, the best patience he has is 1 damage and 1 boost. These are not numbers you typically see with this deck. You're usually seeing like 5, 6 plus. Sometimes these all-in versions of this deck can even get to like 15, 20, 30. But yeah, this is the saddest fan art students and the Aretuza students have ever been. There's another bomb. Destroyed again. And like, how does Iluha even stick any of these?
There's no way. And the problem here is the fact that you still need to actually work towards your end game here, because if you're not, then how are you basically going to win this, as KAMS is going to continue to just rain fire on Big KK's threats. You do have 2-point lead, so if you want to maintain that card advantage, it's perhaps time to maybe just pull the shoot on this turn and at least maintain the 1 card up on your opponent. Now you're walking into, again, another shooting gallery in round 2 perhaps, but we'll see how this plays out. None of the major threats, I think, have been played by Big KK. You still have a Shawnee, you still have a Selkirk floating around. There's still Rafard's Vengeance. Your AA, your Amphibious Assault, is going to get a second wheel at the start of the next turn, so that's perhaps some help here. But again, Big KK knows that he's just got to, at the very least, do his best here to get ahead. And there's a nice pass by KAMS. That pass here is basically putting the onus on Big KK here to just take the pass. And again, what is the best way to clear the board? Take a pass. So that Banart student is not going to get, you know, beyond 2 patients without Big KK playing another card or 2 and going down extra cards here to really boost that patience value to that magical Goldilocks zone of 4 and 4.
Yeah, he's not going to get 4 and 4 unless he goes multiple cards down here in round 1. It is an option for him because of how difficult it is to stick students in this matchup. He might feel like it's worth it, but with playing the Cintran Envoy, he's just looking for a little bit of carryover in the form of better draws. There is offered that 1 gold there in Letitia. Not sure if he took it or not, but he is going to pass at 4 cards now, 2 cards down. KAMS has preserved his Sunset Wanderers, and with the 2-card advantage, Big Cuckoo probably can't push into round 2 and is going to go for a long round 3. Maybe try to build up some student patience in round 3 if possible, but KAMS is definitely not going to make his life easy.
Oh, absolutely not. And like you mentioned, and there's the perfect just, you know, drop and pass card with Maxi. Maxi's a wonderful card to pick up to just see what's coming down the pipes, shuffle the deck if necessary, or, you know, accept your fate and draw those 3 cards. Big KK, again, also, you know, wheeling through. He did pick up the Rafard's Vengeance there. Selkirk is a card that he definitely wants, but Chapter of Wizards is a big, big play. Again, an option for, you know, a mage with a shield, but then at the follow-up turn, you could drop a mage and use the order to play 2 threats at once, which could be the, you know, the saving grace for Big KK to just flood the board with threats. Again, he didn't have anything really stick in round 1, so the implications in round 3 are going to be minimal. Those alumni that people like to say are just out of control, well, they are a little out of control if you let those threats stick, and KAMS has made sure that nothing has stuck to the board, so those alumni are going to be fairly pedestrian at best.
Yeah, right now, I think Big KK has 3 boost and 1 damage for his alumni, which with no zeal, because they have to both get to 4 at least in order to get zeal. And KAMS took a long time thinking about that Maxi. We'll see if he shuffled or not. I think he wasn't drawing Heatwave and wasn't drawing Force Protector, so I would guess that he would probably shuffle.
I think he did
Yeah,
shuffle.
he did. He did
definitely
shuffle.
shuffle. Yeah, the mulligans, I believe, would have yielded, if he took all 3 mulligans, it would have yielded the heat wave, but this is a much better mulligan here, as you do pick up Forest Protector, you do pick up the Angoulême, which is going to get you that Chapter of Wizards. Not to mention, there's the final wheel, and that's a dangerous one that could have yielded the second Sentinel, but in this case, take a look at what he's got here. You could even, if you want to, why not just open up with the Pyrotech? That is an instant drop and a potential kill for a 4 strength mage that might hit the board if you know, with a little luck. But also Forest Protector, recur some of those nature cards, and man, there's still a Simlas to be played. So lots to really hope for KAMS here. Lots of options, and again, another uphill climb for Big KK.
Yeah, KAMS opening with the Angoulême into Chapter of Wizards guaranteed. Doesn't see anything that great. Ends up taking a Meditating Mage, but I think KAMS was really hoping for like a Spellweaver or a Banard student to deal some damage and give him a little extra control. So
yeah,
a little bit unlucky.
Yeah, there's no round 4, not yet. That leak has not occurred yet, but that's the Golden Necker project. Did you guys know about that? Golden Necker, round 4 Gwent. But no, you're not going to get a second. You're not going to get a round 4 here. So those Meditating Mages, frankly, are just there for, I think, in about 3 or 4 turns, he'll click the button, get some vitality off of them, and that's basically all she wrote in terms of the value of those. But everything else was not really that fantastic because they were all deploy effects, I believe. This is the only one that has a scaling patience-oriented threat here.
Yeah, so Rafard's Vengeance coming down right away for Big Cuckoo. Gonna play a Carrick Marine onto the other row, blocking off that instant damage from making a bombs, like you said earlier. Even though, and he finds that more important than starting to build the crew for Rafard's Vengeance. Probably thinking it's probably gonna be a while before I can even get dream of getting crew, because all my units are getting removed.
Now, keep in mind here that Rafard's Vengeance at 11, if he does want to, sidle that next to a threat like Shawnee or that gets boosted, Red Haze is going to be something that KAMS is going to have to keep at the top of his list here. But there's Simlas, double Bountiful Harvest, double boosting in row.
Oh, look at that! Dude, Chapter of Wizards, have you ever seen it? Chapter of Wizards copying a Dolblith on a Sorceress, a Northern Realms card, getting you another copy of a Scoia'tael bronze, and now these sorceresses are very dangerous. They can find answers like making a bomb, like Waylay, for example, to just increase the damage reach that KAMS has on his removal.
KAMS' strategy of targeting Northern Realms, targeting this Alumni Mages, is showing up big time, and there's the next wheel, I believe, of Amphibious Assault. We're going to go ahead and get Selkirk. Selkirk is going to make short work, I believe, of one of these Sorcerai, as we favored the left one. She can live, but Selkirk's going to go ahead and slam down. But again, when you're doubling up threats like that, it is difficult to just control them when you have no mages on the board collecting patience. Your only option for removal here is Selkirk, and KAMS still has 2 leader charges and his sentinels locked and loaded, so he's ready to go ahead and make short work of anything that Big KK starts developing. Another Bountiful Harvest here again. Doesn't find the Sorceress, but hey, why not? We do have the Whisperers, but I think that at this point, playing the Whisperers can be problematic, Shinmiri, given the fact that you're running out of real estate on your board.
Yeah, I mean, KAMS' list doesn't spawn as many units as something like Symbiosis, Nature's Gifts, with all those treants, so Whisperer is an option, but I think he likes the guaranteed value of the Archer and helps soften up the Rafards to get rid of the engine eventually. So he's just looking for anything that gives him damage at this point.
Yeah, I mean, there's still a Chapter of Wizards, a Mushy Truffle spawning into another unit. So that's two spaces, plus your leader ability is another 3 spaces. So yeah. It can, and not to mention your hand is 1, 2, 3 spells, plus the potential spell from the Mushy Truffle into the Golden Froth. So you're going to run out of real estate. I think this was, like you said, it's guaranteed 7 points of value. Start shaving away some of the damage that maybe your Red Haze can kill the Rafards if you're really feeling that threatened by it. But still, one step at a time for Big KK here. You can't just look at this and say, all right, we're toast. But It's a good start. I mean, here now you have 3 threats to worry about. I don't think KAMS is necessarily, sweating too much about it, but there's now some life for Big KK.
Yeah, 3 threats to worry about. The chapter of Wizards still yet to come, potentially representing 2 threats. Your Shani has been played early enough so that she will go off a second time if she survives until the last turn. Rifards with 3 cooldown, a lot of bronze units still left in hand to potentially play with that Rifards Vengeance. And I think that Patience student, Aratu's student right now, should be at Patience 4, if I'm not mistaken.
Now, the question here, Shinmiri, is do you drop the chapter of Wizards in the front row, hoping for the Banard student, and that way you can have 2 of those rocking and rolling, or do you just double down into the back row and hope that, maybe just pop it down next to some other threats? I think that you need to go ahead and look for those Banard students. I think the chapter of Wizards has to be a front row play.
Yeah, I think that's what you try to go for, but you have to have a contingency plan as well, because there are a lot of bronze mages for Northern Realms, and you might not get what you're looking for. But so far, this range row student has survived, so these alumni aren't looking too shabby. They might still struggle to get Zeal, but you do have like 1 leader charge left, and if one of them sticks, then maybe you can protect the other ones with the one that has stuck on the board. Big decision time for BIGKUKURUZINA. What's it gonna be? Chapter of Wizards in the range row though, and he does find that melee row student, that Banard student. That can be shielded, played in the front row, and now he's starting to accumulate. If this survives long enough, I think another like 3 extra turns, then his alumni could get Zeal. And KAMS is starting to run out of removal. He's got 1 leader charge left, making the bombs, which don't do damage, just bleed. He's going to end up playing the Mushy Truffle here just to buy some time, maybe looking for that buff next turn onto the Sorceress to give it some more options. Nothing is getting answered here. Okay, a little a ray of hope for BIGKUKURUZINA. Something is sticking finally.
Yeah, there we go. And that chapter of Wizards order, you can drop one of those alumni in the back row and then click the button right away. It doesn't necessarily have to be what was spawned by the spell, by the Runeward spell. So again, like you mentioned, the the shield on the Banard student is actually playing quite the role here, given the fact that it's not going to be super clean, because KAMS has 1 charge left of his precision strike ability. So let's say he fires it to break the shield, then the sentinels come out, and there's no death blow available for him yet. So it's a little bit of a tricky puzzle here for KAMS to figure this one out, and we're going to go ahead and just continue to just boost, protect, and Big KK suddenly is becoming a threat here. It's getting real.
Yeah, indeed, and KAMS missing his heat wave is looking like he's struggling to answer anything that boosted now with the Aratu student at 9 and the Banner student with that awkward shield, like you said, and trying to get the death blow on the leader as well for those Broccolon Sentinels. KAMS is starting to struggle a little bit here. He does find a removal option with that Rebuke, but that student is still shielded. Maybe uses the Rebuke or the Waylay to soften something up.
Yeah, I think that the Rebuke here is an option to just start killing a few things. Not to mention, you're putting Shani at 2, meaning that you do have the Precision Strike Death Blow now if you need it. So he can go ahead and pop the shield and kill the Shani if he wants to, if he's really afraid of that Banard student. But there comes the thinning where necessary. Suddenly, Shani's not going to get a second kick at the can here. And that Aratu's student in the back row, it's going to continue to collect patience. But the Aratu's student has now been moved to the front, so there's no option to actually utilize that student's order ability. But it is going to pay dividends to those alumni that are waiting in the wings to go ahead and make an impact.
Yes, exactly. Every turn, it's still accruing its patience. I think it's at like 5 or 6 now. And the alumni are very, very soon. If this Banard student survives another turn or 2, the alumni are going to be Zealed, and they won't be answerable anymore.
I'm just curious about why. I mean, KAMS could have opened up here with the with the Pyrotech this round, opting, I believe, to go with I believe it was the Angoulême was the opening play. Nonetheless, that's a card that now is not going to be as awkward because there's going to be so many other units on the board that can soak up the damage, that can really help Big KK kind of avoid the insta kill that Pyrotech can oftentimes represent when it's the opening play. But now, like you mentioned, that deficit of 29 points isn't as frightening for Big KK because a lot of that power is going to come from those alumni. But the follow-up plays on those cards are not all that fantastic. Casting contests can be great if you have those students that have really put the work in early. But right now, those 9-10 boost damage alumni that people are so terrified of is not the case. But KAMS, who was in the driver's seat for so long here, is suddenly realizing that that massive amount of control is still not enough, it seems.
Yeah, I mean, you say it's not quite the case to get 9-10 boosts. Those alumni are at 7 boosts, Flake. They are very, very close to those scary numbers. I mean, 7 boosts is no joke. It's 4 plus 7, 11 points for 6 provisions. You're already doing better than, I think, the competitive standard for a 6 provision card. So Big Cuckoo has somehow managed to exhaust all of KAMS' removal options and decides that he doesn't even need to zeal this alumni. He's just going to play it in the range row, no zeal, and just wait. Oh, the Pyrotech almost snipes the student. That was a close call. I like that Peller purify the shield and then the Pyrotech to go for broke, but barely misses, and that banner student survives. And I think next turn, that's when it's going to go to Patience 4, and all future alumni are going to have zeal for BIGKUKURUZINA.
Yeah, it's going to get nasty, friends. Here we go. There's the next alumni that comes through. Again, the chapter of Wizards has another alumni locked and loaded. So click that button. You'll get a freebie. It's going to come through. They haven't, Big KK still hasn't used any of the orders. Again, the Aratu's a student in the front row. You can't use it. She ain't where she needs to be, but she's still, like you said, she's still studying hard and really putting those alumni in a position of power here to really cut this deficit into smithereens. The problem is it's a massive deficit, and there's still a huge gourd, and that making a bomb is shutting off a lot of the reach that Big Cuckoo was hoping to have off of the order abilities from all of these students.
So yeah, the lead is 40 something points, 41 on the board, but you've got Vitality and Bleed, so I think it's more like 44 points. But Big Cuckoo has a lot of orders that he hasn't used, but by greeting that Banard student, he's also given KAMS the opportunity to play that second making a bomb and turn off the damage. So good value there from the movement, even though the bleeding isn't going to fully come into play. But does Big Cuckoo have what it takes to overcome this deficit here? He's got 2 alumni, actually 3 alumni, because the Chapter of Wizards represents a third one. He's just going to maybe need to save that Zeal charge for the Chapter of Wizards if he's going to wait that long. It's going to boost up the Melee Row student.
I thought that there might have been a situation where you play the
practice makes perfect on it,
on that student.
Yeah, but the thing is, he wants an alumni back from the practice makes perfect. If he practice makes perfect the Banard student, he's going to get a Banard student back, and that's only going to have Patience 4 or 5. 19-point gourd. KAMS has played his last card. We're a 45-point deficit, but these alumni are boosting for 10 each. That's 30 points of boost. And then the casting contest getting you another 10 boost. This is going to be just enough for Lua. Look at that relief. He gets his alumni list through by 1 point in game number 1. Unbelievable.
That came down to the absolute wire there, and masterfully played by BIGKUKURUZINA. Again, it was such a hill to climb. It was meant to just screw with mages, and Cuckoo just was patient and said, all right, here's another, here's another, here's another.
All right, we are jumping into game number 2. It's KAMS from Blue Coin with his Northern Realms list that has Angoulême and Doodoo versus BIGKUKURUZINA's Skellige, Reckless Flurry, Control on red. So Angoulême here is actually going to hit either Mushy Truffle or Megascope. there is a one of Megascope in Big Cuckoo's deck. So there is going to be some randomness here. The very big difference between whether you get the Mushy Truffle or a Megascope, I think.
Now, is Big KK putting that Megascope in here? I mean, Megascope in that list is not a bad option. Again, you do have that 8-point bear that you can just go ahead and jam out, or even on one of the halfers. It's not the worst thing in the world, but it also does kind of throw a little bit of variance to that Angoulême. Angoulême is not really going to be a sure thing to hit something big, right? So
yes, so I talked with Big Cuckoo before, like a day ago, and asked him about his list. And one piece of information that is interesting that he gave me is he actually predicted and was worried about people bringing Angoulême in this tournament. And not necessarily to target Northern Realms, but he thought maybe an Angoulême would be seen to target Skellige, because Skellige plays Mushy Truffle, and a lot of decks play Mushy Truffle, including something like Nilfgaard. And he told me that he's purposely threw in a one-of copy of Megascope just to give some uncertainty to Angoulême, and we'll see if this pays off for him here. His foresight that maybe his opponents will bring something like Angoulême.
all right, so the opening play here is we're going to start with the Letitia and just boost her up with a shield on top of that. That's some nice protection here. Gets it out of the range of a lot of nasty things, but Big KK does have some stuff to answer. You can always go with the Coral as an opener. Maybe go ahead and thin out some cards that you don't necessarily want, but I feel like a lot of the cards in that hand are quite important. Things like the Gutting Slash to deal 4 damage is important, and we're going to start with the Morkvarg to just go ahead and put Letitia to that 5 points of health. Now, you're not quite there yet, so a Gutting Slash is not going to kill you, but perhaps the Trial of the Grasses is going to finish the deal here. That's always an option as well.
Yeah, that is an option, but Kams can also boost the Letitia. For example, he can like Amphibious Assault into a Carrack Marine to send that Letitia right back up to 9 power. The fact that it wasn't Heat Waved kind of gives Kams a little bit of information. Probably now he's thinking that there's probably no Heat Wave in Big Cuckoo's hand. He's going to go with the Rafard's Vengeance, get that cooldown engine going, and going to play Aretusa's Student here in the range row, putting crew onto that Rafard's Vengeance, because Rafard's Vengeance counts both mages and soldiers as part of its crew.
So how do you approach this? Is this a situation, Shinmiri, perhaps, where you play your leader ability and hope to get maybe a second... if all things kind of go well here, maybe you get Bloodthirst, your Gutting Slash can kill the Letitia. Do you just go straight away with the Gutting Slash to kill the student? No, we're going to go with the Trial of the Grasses here again. 6 points of damage gets rid of the Letitia. Kams just kind of opting to not necessarily protect it. Like you said, there was an option to go with the Frog Assault to drop the Carrack Marine. But here we go, and this is where this gets a little bit out of hand. As the Rafard's Vengeance with double student now, multiple threats to deal with, and they are nasty threats.
Yeah, indeed. An interesting decision by Kams to kind of play 2 range row students, Aretusa students, first before any of these Ban Ard students, thinking that maybe one of them will get answered, and he values the boost more than the damage in this matchup versus Skellige, because Skellige doesn't go very tall, and it doesn't really have many threats that you need to answer, so the damage is worth a little bit less, whereas in a lot of other matchups you might value the damage more.
Ooh, I like this play. Kams knows that he's never going to use that ability on the student. It's either going to die, or you're just going to accumulate as many patience ticks as possible. That's an order that he didn't opt to use, so he's selecting rather to just put it on the off-road next to the Rafards to create the crew ability of 2 random damage, and suddenly a 23-point lead here with the patience ticking. Kams in the driver's seat here on Blue Coin. The question is this a pass that you want to take, a value pass, as you like to say, collect the patience value and keep going, or do you continue to push the tempo here, own round 2, and maybe bleed out some of those bigger threats like the Fuchsia and the Wanderers?
Well, the tempo pass normally would be decent, but he doesn't have a Ban Ard student ticking, but decides to take it anyways. He's not going to be building damage for his alumni, just boost, and he's not going to get zeal for his alumni. But with I think both Gutting Slash, was this just one Gutting Slash?
There was both
that was
gutting
played?
slashes were used. Yeah, one took out the first student, the other took out the fan art
Yes.
student.
So both gutting slashes have been played. Maybe he's thinking that he'll have an easier time sticking the Banard student to get the zeal, or maybe he doesn't even need the zeal. That the alumni that they just run out of answers.
And this is a tough one
For
here.
the alumni.
This is gonna have to be like a half through and a leader charge here. So 13 points. So half through 6, 7 off the Aratuz, sorry, off the Sunset Wanderers is 13, brings you up to 21. Plus the leader charge gives you the 1-point lead on the turn. So there we have it. Bang, 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 and sunset. So Cams with the excellent value pass here. It's a leader charge and that wandering threat.
Oh man, with the skirmisher top deck, if Big Cuckoo had known that information, that Coral could have been a good play there too to save the leader charge for removal. So I would like to check the graveyard of Cams just to see what that patience of the Aratuzza student got to. If we can see that, that would be very helpful, knowing where that's at and what the alumni are looking like. And now we see Cam. Cam's top decked a card that you guys might not know, so make sure you take advantage of the Observer. That's the Immortals, and that makes a really nice combo with the card all the way at the far left. The Damned Sorceress, newly buffed with cooldown 1, can take the shield from Immortals every single turn, boosting herself by 2 and also the Immortals by 2. So 4-point a turn engine potential for Cams with that 2-card combo.
And I'm guessing here the Squirrel likely taking out that half-through, a nice pair-up card with Fuchsia to give a long amount of rain just dropping on your opponent there. But again, look at the power level that BIGKUKURUZINA still has access to. Fuchsia and Coral with all the Finnables. So that is a great hand to hang on to. You could likely suspect that Big KK is going to toss the Witcher. Yep, there it goes, because that's a great card to pair up with Geralt Quen. And look at that. All of the Finnable cards are there. So Coral with the trigger, plus, if necessary, you got Coral with the trigger, plus the Burnabrand follow-up, and you have both Skirmishers and the Morkvark there. So massive amounts of tempo for Big KK. Now, you usually want to pair that up with a Wanderer still in hand to give it more runway to grow, but Cams' pass in round 1 forced Big KK to make plays that eventually cost him that Sunset Wanderers just to get out of the round without losing cards.
Yeah, and because Big Cuckoo had to go multiple cards in down in round 1, he couldn't push round 2, which gives Cams free play to build up the patience of that Banard student in round 2 uncontested. And now with the Shawnee res onto the Banard student, he has patience of damage 4 on the Banard student and boost 5 on the Aratuzza student from round 1. So those alumni are zealed up, and they're looking pretty good.
Yeah, they're in the Q zone, as it would be. They've basically got everything they need to really wreak havoc on this. But no slouch with Big KK here, because 2 leader charges left. You got the Heat Wave, and I mean, keep in mind that you still have 2 card draws necessary here, and those card draws aren't going to hurt you because you'll be able to keep them, because what you're tossing out there with the Burnabrand is a Morkvarg and another Skirmisher. So that Burnabrand is going to be worth, what is that? That's going to be worth 15 points plus the 4 damage. That's going to be a 19-point Burnabrand, which is absolutely filthy when it includes some extra card draw and cycling like that.
And there you see the first alumni boosting by 5, protecting that Shawnee. There could have also been an option for Cams to Selkirk and kill the Coral to prevent the extra 4 damage from the Burnabrand, but Cam's electing to protect the Shawnee instead, thinking that's higher priority. Maybe Big Cuckoo doesn't have the follow-up Birna or the Scald anyways, so he decides to prioritize the boost, and Angolim is going to be great coming up. Even if he misses, if this alumni survives, even if he misses the Mushy Truffle and finds Megascope instead, it's still going to be good on the alumni. And oh, look at this. It's kind of a disaster for Big Cuckoo. He draws into double Bear Witcher on the Burnabrand. So now this Quen no longer gets that shield synergy with the Bear Witchers, and instead is going to pull, I think, a Junod. Or is it bricked? No, there is a Junod still in the deck.
Yeah, that's just
it can,
there.
Yeah, you can get a Junod, but normally you want to pair that shield up with the self-damaging Bear Witcher so that they don't deal 3 damage to themselves. But on the other hand, Big Cuckoo's Beer Nut did snipe that Alumni, so the Alumni is dead. There's not the opportunity to practice makes perfect that Alumni and maybe get a chance to replay it again from the deck. And also a potential Megascope from Ungolim is no longer going to have an Alumni to copy.
All right, so as it stands here, Big KK with the a swift lead, a heat wave of the shielded unit in the front row, the Banard student, still ticking away slowly but surely, as we do also have a Shawnee that's fairly close down. There it is, and he does manage to pick up the Mushy Truffle. Not bad. Cam's getting a little lucky here again. It was a 50-50 if I'm not mistaken, but we got what we needed. And well, hey, let's go ahead and protect this Banard student again and see what we can do. But again, when you're talking about where's that Junod going to fall to really get value, you're going to have to kill something that is damaged. And with the amount of boosting that is available in this Northern Realms list, it can be disgusting to try to pull that off, especially when you have the Mushy Truffle spawning the Golden Frost. And look at him just trying to get that Banard student. It didn't work out.
Yeah, 2 leader charges expended, but only hit the Banard student 1 time. And now his Junod is going to kill a Cintrian Enchantress, I guess, which will stop the Bonded on the second one. But it's very, very... Oh, he's actually decided not to go for the Junod and going to go for Fukusha instead to get the Rain going. Reses a little Hofru, puts 6 turns of Rain. So this is the last turn for the max value of Rain. But Kams just goes right ahead with that Mushy Truffle activation. Golden Froth to protect all of his units. Only 1 damage unit now, and then the Selkirk duels the little Hofru so that there will be no Bonded on Big Cuckoo's side either.
Yeah, that was a great heads up play there to use the Golden Froth to protect the Banard student. Kams knows that Junod is looming, but everything's in the green except for that Enchantress in the back row. But I mean, low value target there. Again, you are going to shut off the Bonded ability, but that is not going to make or break as big as that Banard student is working on right now. The fact that Angoulême picked up the Mushy Truffle really saved the day here for Kams, as it did manage to bring that Banard student back to the green, out of the Junod hunting range. And as it stands now, Big Cuckoo is going to play his own Mushy Truffle, find another little Hofru, and despite the fact that the first one was, dueled by Selkirk, Big KK has the other one in hand for the Bonded ability as well.
Okay, so that Banard student just killed a little Hofru, so it's at least Patience 6 at this point. Might even be more, I think. And the second Cintrian Enchantress comes down with that 4 Vitality because of the Bonded, and now the 2 Strength Cintrian Enchantress is looking like a really good practice makes perfect target, because it's damage. You're only removing 2 power from your board. If you get it back, it'll have Bonded again, or maybe you get the second Alumni in your deck with that practice makes perfect. A lot of good options for Kams.
Oh, definitely. Everything looking great here. Kams is being able to just survive the onslaught here. A round in which Big KK had so many big pieces. You had the Coral into the Burna with the Fukusha. All of the Finnables are there, and suddenly, even with the Mushy Truffle and the Doomvedra in hand, it's not looking good. You're going to have to find an option for that Qcento to pick up the Junod and actually get value. I'm wondering if this is what BKK is thinking about. Is this the option that you want to make here? Or are you going to continue to try to push the tempo here with these Bear Witchers to maybe try to bring something down to get more value out of that Junod? Do you drop the Bear Witcher onto the Shawnee perhaps and try to make way? Yep, there it goes. But I don't know if that's going to be enough. But the rain does help out here. But still, it's, again, day late, buck short, as that Shawnee is going to boost back up.
Yeah, with the Vitality from the Enchantress, she is going to heal back up to white strength. Junod won't be able to kill her. There's the Amphibious Assault, gets the second Alumni, and yep, Shawnee right back up. And the Heat Wave was expended on the Immortals, which is really interesting. Like, Immortals is a big threat, like I said. If you don't answer it, the combo, the 2-card combo of Immortals and Damned Sorceress represents 4 points a turn, maybe even more, just like blocking the rain with the shield. But with the Heat Wave having to be spent on the Immortals, now it gives Kams the option of really boosting his Shawnee high, maybe even greeting his Gerhard for extra points, because that hard removal is just out of the picture.
Yeah, you gotta wonder if it was just a matter of, like, it seems like there were so many other plays that could have been made there. Like, what was the fear of that particular unit existing? Maybe that the heat wave could have been held onto, but this also dates back to the first turn where Big KK dropped the Morkvarg to answer the Letitia with the boost earlier on. These are cards that could have helped out in this case, but still, Big KK is kind of, he's got options. There are certainly some some more things that could be done here to keep him in the hunt. He is leading, but we know how these mage decks work. We know that a lot of that power is going to come late game.
Oh my god. With the alumni getting sniped earlier by Coral, he has his revenge as Shawnee fully cools down and brings the alumni back from the graveyard and kills the Coral with it. And the PMP does find that Syndrome Enchantress again. I think it was the last. There were no other bronze mages in the deck for KAMS, so it was guaranteed, I think, to get to Syndrome Enchantress, and now Selkirk's out of damaged range, and there's just a measly 2-point Angolim for Big Kuku's Junon.
Yeah, just think about it this way: the importance of what that Enchantress has done. It's not just the value of the body plus the boost. It's the fact that it rescued the Selkirk out of range of the Junon. So the implications of that particular card have been massive in terms of protecting units. And now the rain is falling, but it's not falling on those units to get them into the red. You still have the Angoulême doing its best and saying, "Come on, Junon. I think I'm all that you're gonna get here, Bucko." But it's just not working out, it seems.
Yeah, KAMS taking a second practice makes perfect. Replays that alumni, and for the damage, and kills the little Hofru again. Just never letting the bonded get on the board to stick for the second one.
Yeah, smart move there. It's definitely a decent move here. KAMS' last card is fairly, less than poetic here. It's just a little bit of it's a five cost to, or a 5 strength throwaway. But the lead that he's cultivated here has been massive. But that's basically all she wrote. All the fireworks are kind of are locked up here.
Yeah, it looks like a big lead, but I think Big Kuku is maybe within striking distance here. He's got Quen into Junon, which is not too shabby of a play, and he's got the Mushy Truffle on the board and a Dwim Viendra to reuse that Mushy Truffle order. So we'll see. I think it's kind of close. I haven't fully done the math, but Dwim Viendra going to come down here. Maybe Big Kuku is thinking, maybe I can just snipe that fan art student and get an extra point on my Junon. 17...
Yeah, that was basically the play there. You just want to maybe roll the dice one more time to get that squeak out that one extra point.
Is that going to make the difference?
Well, here
it's a 9 Junon plus a 6 on the Mushy Truffle. It's 1 point. Another 1 point game, this time going in the favor of KAMS. These are the closest games.
Just absorb Keltulus's wrath. In this case, it is going to be monsters on Big KK's side, so we're going to see that Keltulus list, but we're also going to see Precision Strike trying to pump the brakes on this plan. Big KK, like you said, on blue is going to have 3 mulligans, and opting in this case with the stratagem being tactical advantage, just to sort of put something a little bit high up there at 5-point boost. No Veil, because it seems like there's just not a lot of locking going on, especially when your thought process is to ban Nilfgaard. You can go ahead and get that extra point of reach, not have to worry necessarily about things like poison or locks. So no need for Veil, so no Crystal Skull. It's going to be the stratagem tactical advantage, a 5-point boost to protect your units. And looking at the menu right now that Big KK's hanging on to, I see Beast, I see Siri, there's a Witch's Apprentice in there, as well as a whole slew of spells to keep your stuff healthy.
Yeah, and he's got the Keltullus, and he's got the Oniromancy, which means he can either pull Defender with that Oniromancy, right? So that's basically the combo, the Wombo combo that you love or hate to see. Defender into Siri Dash. Does KAMS have what it takes to answer that?
Well, look at the hand that KAMS is holding on to right now. A lot of stuff that's going to punish those go tall strategies. Things like Red Haze. If you want to pair up a Keltullus next to a Beast or a Siri or something, you're gonna get hurt. And that's something you don't want to see. Cam's getting a free, getting kind of hosed there. That's not nice.
It's not really, because that Maddock would have came out anyways, right, on the first bomb. So it's basically the Huarahua just didn't really do anything for Cams, I think.
No, excuse me. Wow. Yeah. No, you're absolutely right. It's probably the best thing you want to see for if you're Cams. This also gives a little bit of information to Kukuruzina, thinking, all right, a lot of the big stuff's in the hand, and hey,
Simless, yeah, Simless is in the hand for sure. What else? Force Protector. Those are the two that he gets information on, right?
That's correct. And the Squirrel's going to come through and get rid of that Owner-Mancy that was popped off on right away. So that Squirrel could have been very valuable, because that Squirrel could have potentially gone through and taken out the Keltulis, taken out the defender out of there. But the Owner-Mancy is the more important piece right now, because that's the card that really fixes a lot of the win condition draws that you mentioned. Getting rid of a surefire, skeleton key of a card is crucial.
Oh, look at that. There was an Ongulum in Cams' deck, by the way. So that is 10 provisions as well. So that's kind of funny that the Huarahua might have pulled the Ongulum out, which is a brick in this matchup. So take it as how you will, if it's a good thing or a bad thing. But that Ongulum is still there. And Cams might eventually have to play it, which would be terrible.
So what is the strategy here for Cams to deal with that Siri Dash? Because there's no clean-cut way to do it just yet. You don't have a lined-up red haze.
I see something. You could double leader the Unicorn in the center, red haze for 7, and then use the last leader charge for 1 plus the 2 damage on the Brocklon Sentinel, which also gets the death blow. And this is exactly what we're seeing. Big play by Cams here, finding the line to clean up the Siri Dash, which is going to be huge, because if the Siri Dash gets through, then BIGKUKURUZINA has effectively flipped switched the coin flip and is now playing from red coin, and potentially has with Keltulis a possibility of winning on even. And now that possibility is gone. Even though the leader charges are used up, Cam's kind of has a lot of bricks in his deck, so he likes to thin anyways here. And now he has the option of maybe winning on even.
Yeah, that Precision Strike list, a lot of people think that you want to be holding on to the leader for round 3. But the more and more I play with this list, the more and more I get it on red coin, the more I feel like I want to be using that leader charge in round 1 to secure a round 1 victory and thin out the garbage. I think that that's a more important strategy, especially when you have late game bombs that you can drop, like Force Protector and Gourd, let's say, and you can go with a round 2 bleed with the Sunset Wanderer as a major pressure point if you win on even in round 1. So I like that play. I don't think it's necessarily detrimental. I think Cams is okay giving up the leader ability to thin out the garbage and really put the pressure here on Big KK. The problem is that Cams is kind of running out of those big threats, those big removal pieces that could have been exceptionally helpful here to get him ahead.
Yeah, so no access to Heat Wave right now, but does have the double making a bomb for movement for something like Keltulis. So I think Cams will probably be okay in this round because he has the answer to Keltulis. If not, I think I would have been a little bit more worried for him. But Big Cuckoo now has to decide, only down 2 points, but he is currently looking at potentially losing on even. Does he commit something like Keltulis?
Keltulis wouldn't be bad because you have so much latitude to drop other things if necessary. But Keltulis just gets answered by a making the bomb, right? You're not terribly afraid of it in any way, shape, or form. And it makes sense almost to drop it into the making a bomb, fire off your Maddock, and then you're seeing Cuckoo have trouble maintaining Sabbath for that Witch's Apprentice as an additional engine, and everything else that he has. I mean, that Spores is pretty garbo against Cams in this case. You want to keep that Spores for the Gourd or the Sunset Wanderers, so that's not really going to have any implications in this particular round, depending on where it goes. But we're going to go ahead and commit the Keltulis here. You're going to see Keltulis do Keltuli things, but is this the situation where Cams perhaps just buys into it, or do you just walk away from this round?
I think you're probably making a bomb this to try to win the round. I don't dislike I don't dislike Big Cuckoo's play. I think it's fine. Even though making a bomb is very likely in this situation and it's going to get answered, you do have a Witch's Sabbath, which resurrects 3 monster units from your graveyard. So you do want to play that 3rd monster unit, and you don't want to play that Witch's Apprentice without the Sabbath in the situation just to have it answered by a Dimeridium Bomb, for example. So your really only other choice to play that 3rd monster unit is Keltullus here. So I think it's fine just to see if even if there is a making a bomb, you're forcing that answer now so that they don't have the answer for later.
KAMS, it might just be thinking here that it might be in his best interest to maybe just hold on to the Sunset Wanderer for round 2. Big KK could have just, insta-snapped the Spores for value, but again, that's also a valuable card for later on. Who knows here, as really there's several answers for that Gourd. There's the Spores, as well as the Heat Wave. So Gourd and Sunset Wanderers, 2 of these super tall boosted units, are going to have answers in the book, as Big KK now is ahead, just opting, just to think about it. Might as well take the time as it's given to you, catch your breath, go into round 2 here. This is a very, very tight series. It's 1-1, and each match has been won by a single point, which has really put the drama on high alert here for the game. But BIGKUKURUZINA's draws do not look too fantastic. That Nithral looks good, Shinmiri, but we saw in round 1 that the Squirrel just nibbled away. Benny the Squirrel went through, ate the Ownermancy, and now BIGKUKU is not finding Witch's Sabbath, not finding a whole bunch of
Caldwell. Caldwell is the card that you really want for this round to give to your opponent, right? So you can get back with Witch's Sabbath in round 3. But the Xavier Lemons isn't bad. You can play Xavier Lemons and banish the Madoc, which will, reduce a lot of value in terms of all of KAMS' bombs. Just basically takes 3 points away from each bomb that he's going to play.
Yeah, I feel like if you do not have much going on for you here, this might be a situation where you just start buying cards out of your opponent's hand. Again, your hand is all bronze. You're thinking, well, how can I possibly compete in this? Well, your objective right now is to trade bronzes, trade up on your cards. That Dimeridium Bomb might be a mushy truffle out of their hand. That that Swallow Potion might be a Heat Wave, and you're getting closer and closer to the point where that Sunset Wanderer can come out, and you could still be you're basically buying bigger cards out of your opponent's hand to do the right thing. So there's Xavier. Xavier's probably gonna. I don't think you're done here for Big KK. I think you're continuing to go. You want to play until that Sunset Wanderer comes out. That's one more card that you do not have to worry about when it matters.
Yes, but also if you keep playing here, you're losing your card, right? Which means you're losing your last say, and Big KK really wants to save that Spores with last say to answer a Gourd. So I can see it either way here, and especially like now when we see both players' hands, if Big KK had kept bleeding, he would have gotten like maybe another bomb out of him, like the Truffle as carryover anyways. So yes, you get a Sunset Wanderer out of it, but you lose the ability to Spores the Gourd or Heat Wave the Gourd and Spores the Sunset. The Sunset isn't that big of a deal because you have double Tall Punish. So maybe KK ends up liking this long round, and Kelly traditionally a pretty good long round deck with all the engines. So we'll see what he can do here.
Now he did find that Witch's Sabbath, a clutch card that you need to have here to make this even within the realm of reach for Big KK, because in this round, if all you're playing with is Nithral and a Witch's Apprentice and a whole bunch of spells, you will be in trouble. You need some actual meat on the table to make things work. Big KK taking one more wheel, and that's a nice card to have there. It's a 5-point boost. No locks to necessarily worry about, but we're just going to toss out the Angulem, saying, all right, we'll get this out here. But what was fascinating is that I believe KAMS opted to not mulligan the Angulem as the last mulligan. He threw another card out.
Yeah, because he doesn't want to brick the Simless. He needs to keep both Bountiful Harvests in his deck because he hasn't thinned with Simless yet. So he's just playing it safe here. And if he drew a Bountiful Harvest, that's like drawing a 0. So keeping the 3 is better than, I guess, a really high chance of drawing a 0.
All right, so you're gonna have to make room for that. You're gonna have to make room for that. Sorry. you got to get that defender out of the way to get access to Kelly. Moondust is one way to do it. Again, not many points to be had with that play, as basically the 4 points of damage were absorbed by the armor, but now you got full access to that Keltulis, and that Keltulis can be dealt with in a myriad of ways. I don't think that you heat wave it. I think you just toss it to the back and let the heat wave find a bigger, taller target.
Yeah, exactly. We as spectators can see both players' hands, and we can match up, you know, answers to threats very easily. The players are also trying to do this, but without the full knowledge of what's in their hand right now. But this is open deck list, so you can kind of assign that as a player as well. I think the two making bombs, one of them is going to go on Keltulis, and one of them is going to go on Nithral. Both of them melee row locked, so just cheap answers to these. But what Big Kuku can do, he could do something like leader charge both of those units to make the to have the making bombs. If there was a unit in the back row, for example, then the making bombs would try to do bleed, and it wouldn't be able to apply that to a veiled unit. Maybe something he does with a Nithral, I think.
Yeah, with the Nithral, he is going to go ahead and drop Veil in, and like you said, when there's an occupied row...
Oh!
Well,
that's
there
what we're talking about. The Bountiful Harvest representing a 0-point card for KAMS as he draws it. Maybe even worse than 0, because when you Simless 2 Bountiful Harvest, you can get like 2 sorceresses and have 2 threats in 1 turn. Now he has to play those Bountiful Harvests separately, and you know, then Big Kuku answers 1, and then KAMS plays the second Bountiful Harvest into another threat, and Big Kuku answers the second one.
Yeah, Big KAMS in that case, by tossing the Bountiful Harvest earlier, keeping the dead Angoulême to preserve the Simlas play, thinking it might have been a pretty significant play, but ultimately gets bitten by the Sunset Wanderers, who just brings that card right back to haunt you. And there's that play you're talking about again. The Veil is not going to allow that bleeding to get through, but we do finally have the Sabbath on the front row, so that's another 2-point engine that's going to be ticking. So all of these engine pieces, there's the Beast, there's the Witch's Apprentice. The Nithral has been nullified. That has been moved to the back. So even though no damage was done on that bomb, bomb basically is representing potentially, you know, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12 points that of damage that Nithral can no longer do. So a very significant move there, even without the damage.
Yeah. Big Kuku getting 4 points a turn now, as long as the Beast is not the tallest unit on the board. Still a Heat Wave in KAMS' hand, so Big Kuku does need to be careful about boosting anything too tall. Nice little combo by KAMS here, though. The Bountiful Harvest into the Whisperer, and then clicking the Truffle right away gives you the 6-point Whisperer. But that gets answered immediately by that Hideous Feast.
Well, the Hideous Feast is just a perfect answer to it. Again, it's much like those 3 damage, like Dip in the Pontar or Waylay or something along those lines. 3 points of damage with an upside is always great to see, as it just takes out those Whisperers, which can just continuously just populate that board. And against a Keltulis, even though Keltulis is offline, that card could have been a major threat if left unchecked, as it basically just continues to give more fodder for Keltulis to eat. But Keltulis in the back row is merely a spectator now, just basically just watching the damage, with Nithral saying, imagine if we were front row center here, imagine the impact we could have. But that ain't the case, as double making a bomb has really just, you know, shredded Big Kukuruzina's deck to pieces here, as those 2 major threats are now just passengers in this match.
You know what would be funny? Just seeing that Epidemic in KAMS' deck as an option from Simless. If this had been like Witch Apprentice pre-nerf, it would have been 4 provisions and killable by Epidemic. But now, you can't kill it with Epidemic. KAMS has to settle for the Bountiful Harvest, which isn't too bad at 9 points here. But that Gourd is probably going to get reset eventually. And Big Kuku is looking pretty good here with that 17-point lead, even card advantage, 2 engines ticking, and the leader charge to boot.
Yeah, lots going on here, and even with that massive Gourd and the Heat Wave, there's a big deficit, but KAMS is going to be able to shave away 20 points. That's massive. And then follow that up with a Gourd, but the Gourd is going to get answered here, so it's basically, you know, what you see is what you get in terms of the point totals here. The Witch's Apprentice continuing to grow. There's still a couple points of leader ability left. scored, as big, bad, and nasty as it may be, isn't gonna be enough. It gets heat waved into the Nether Realm. KAMS is not gonna have enough. There's so much on the line, but I think we're ready to go here, Shinmiri, as KAMS is gonna be on Skellige. Blue and Big KK, again, last bastion of hope here to get through the semifinals, also on Skellige. Reckless Flurry on red.
Yeah, and KAMS has some interesting techs in his Flurry list. We see the Hammond there for movement. This was against mages and maybe Kelly. But movement not really going to do too much in the Skellige mirror. He's also got Angolim, which again is a 50-50 between Megascope and Truffle. And he's got cards like Herald Hounds now. Herald Hounds is actually very good against Flurry Mirror because of the skulls giving you a very high chance of Flurry hitting those skulls and then getting the Death Wish.
Yeah, it's basically a little Uno reverse, right? When it comes down to it, it's just the laying out a minefield for this Skellige list to navigate when it comes down to Reckless Flurry pings, rain, that may be problematic, a nice mirror tech if necessary. I think what it's going to come down to for both these players is basically which player can preserve some of those bigger threats, which player can utilize the coral with all the supplemental support cards for it, like Burn a Brand, and all the other draw and discard type options here. So both players have to be wary of what the other player is bringing to the party, but it feels like if one of these players can get a card like Fuchsia out, can get the coral combo out in a non-significant round off a bleed, that may be a big part of it. Not to mention KAMS with the Morkvarg in hand, both players having the Morkvarg. So the answers to the Sunset Wanderers are there. You know, both players have the major threat and the perfect answer to each of these situations.
Yeah, exactly. And we've got KAMS on blue coin, Big Cuckoo on red. So KAMS a little bit more vulnerable here on blue coin. If Big Cuckoo wants to put on the pressure, he can. But both players, I would say KAMS maybe has the better round one hand because he has that coral with a discard target. He's got the stratagem as well as for a chance to find another one. Big Cuckoo has coral, but nothing good to discard. I guess there's the stunning blow. But with this Peller play, kind of telegraphs that Big Cuckoo is just willing to give up round one, not going to put on the pressure, and just playing to the left of that Sunset Wanderer to try to get that Sunset Wanderer to come out later. You know, in round one, when both players are playing Sunset Wanderers in round one, you really want to play as much as to the left of Sunset as you possibly can, because by playing to the left of it, it's not even about getting more boost on the Sunset Wanderer, because that's just going to get reset by Morkvarg eventually. It's about holding it in your hand for longer. If you can force your opponent Sunset to come out earlier in this round, you can take a well-timed pass so that they waste their Wanderer in round one rather than be able to carry it over where you have to trade a Morkvarg.
Yeah, both players know that that the answer is there for that card. But again, the longer that you can preserve it, the more the more awkward it is for your opponent to hang on to cards that they may not want to hang on to. Nobody wants to give up their Morkvarg, when the Sunset Wanderer is still in their opponent's hand. Both players are incredibly happy to see Morkvarg in their hand, to have that perfect answer to that sort of scaling threat. But the pass here from KAMS up 8 points. Big KK is going to have to find a way to just get to that point.
This is actually really awkward for Big KK.
It's definitely not easy, because you don't want to give up a coral. You don't want to give up your Morkvarg, but apparently coral's the way to go. That's probably the best way to do it here, as it was, like you said, it was just not clean cut at all. It's going to have to be a coral.
Nothing great to discard here. Like, yeah, maybe Bear Witcher, maybe Trial of the Grasses, but then he's going to have to use a leader charge as well to make up the difference, because coral's only 8 and he needed 9.
Yeah, and a leader charge as well. Great pass.
Or
it's or not, I guess.
Or just use a trial here. Like, yeah, this is a really interesting pass by KAMS, because, as I said, Big Cuckoo was kind of telegraphing that he was going to give up the round by playing that Peller as his opening play. And KAMS is like, nope, I'm blue coin. I'm going to get the opportunity to actually pass before you So yeah, show me what you got. Like maybe your hand is too good and you have to start playing good stuff. Like this is exactly what's happening here. Big Cuckoo getting put in a really awkward position. Gonna play the Dwim. Dwim is worth 10 points. It's a really good card.
It is a good card, but I think what you're looking at here is that you might want to hold on to the Trial of the Grasses to kill the coral that KAMS is hanging on to. It might be an option. Like, don't get me wrong, Dwimvedra, great card. It's going to be worth 10 points to you to reset the Mushy Truffle. But if you're killing the coral is worth 6 plus the 2 points of damage off her own order, plus the potential Burnabrand is another 4. So you're saying that this Trial of the Grasses has potential to be worth 12 points. Not to mention it's already 10 on my Geralt Quen, right? So it's there to be had. I get it. The problem for Big KK is that there wasn't garbage to throw out there, and that Trial of the Grasses didn't have a clean target because you couldn't boost any of your own units and you couldn't kill that bear, so there wasn't much to do.
Yeah, exactly. And now Big KK is at 8 cards. He has 1 card to play for quote-unquote free before he starts going under the hand size limit of 10 in round 3. So he could play something like Mushy Truffle for a carryover.
Truffle's fine because I don't think that the Half-Roo's great. It's 6 points, but it's not going to make or break necessarily.
It's potentially 8 points. And also, like, if you play Truffle now, KAMS might already have the Heat Wave, and then he's going to get to use Heat Wave for a carryover. Oh, and KAMS does find the 50-50, a little bit of a head shake. Big Cuckoo, a little bit salty to see that 50-50, and that is a lot. That's extra carryover for KAMS, which is great for him. And now there is no chance for Big Cuckoo to respond to that because he's already passed. So KAMS with probably the better card quality and also the extra carryover.
I've always said it, Shinmiri, if ever I had a superpower, my superpower would be to always win 50-50s. Not 1 in 3s, not 1 in 4s. Whenever there was a coin flip, a true 50-50, I always had the most favorable outcome. That would be my superpower. Screw flight and invisibility. 50-50s is the subtle power that I promise you, the more you think about, will just leapfrog you into a legendary status.
KAMS, KAMS must have shared that opinion of yours because he's winning these 50-50s like nobody. But he's also kept this epidemic, which is interesting. It's answered a Little Hofru.
Yeah, that's a great answer to Little Hofru if necessary. Hanging on to the fact that KAMS, like you said, you're talking about card quality and tech choices, because oftentimes it looks like a mirror, but it isn't, because KAMS is playing with Harold Houndsnout, and he's playing with a few different changes here that can make it really difficult for Kukuruzina to just have a clear-cut, waltz into the semifinals. KAMS here with the Harold Houndsnout, with the Angoulême, finding the resilient location, Mushy Truffle. These are big pieces, and the Harold Houndsnout laying down the minefield of those skulls makes for the leader charges to be really gross.
Yeah, indeed, and this is why Big Cuckoo is just going to take the leader charges when he has the chance, knowing that the Houndsnout is probably coming very quickly. So, great way to use the leader charges, kill a Little Hofru, and prevent potentially a Bonded from that second Mushy Truffle. KAMS not happy to see this Peller top deck. Pretty useless card in this matchup, so not great to see that. But, like, his other techs are not that bad. Houndsnout is actually good in the matchup. Hammond has some pirate synergy. Both forms of Morkvarg are pirates. So he could potentially get 4 bleed from this Hammond, end up playing it for 11 points. That is a possibility. But KAMS is in a position right now, he's not very happy because he has 2 cards to discard, but only 1 target to discard them with. Or one card to discard them with, which is a Coral. He needs the Coral to find either a Scald or the Birna here.
All right, here goes. The minefield has been laid down, friends. So this makes for those that last leader charge from Big KK be a little less of a sure thing. It might be negative value. It might come back to haunt you. But like you said, KAMS picked up potentially the most useless card that he could have right there. And now he's really banking on the Coral to maybe bail him out here. He's going to Coral and toss out the Morkvarg or toss out the Skirmisher if necessary and hope that the card that comes back in return is going to help him out here. But Big KK still hanging on to that big Sunset Wanderer is going to come through, drop down, 13 points of pure boosted goodness, which is going to get immediately just deleted in a ratatatata style that Morkvarg we saw a turn earlier. So now the decision is made. Fuchsia, great card to come through with. Again, it's going to go down onto the front row. Fearless. Look at that. I'm just going to take out these skulls with the rain. That is a fascinating, again, negative value on that rain.
Yeah, negative value on the rain, but like Cuckoo's maybe thinking, I still have a leader charge left. These probably are going to end up getting hit anyways, or at least some of them. So he doesn't have great other options there, so he wants to get that Coral down as a value play before the Birna Brand so that the Coral can get more damage. And yeah, he doesn't really want to play any of those other cards right now, so I think that's kind of the issue here. Both Skellige decks are very reactive with very limited proactive plays, so you're going to get to the point where players are going to have to play cards that they don't really want to play in situations that they normally don't want to play them in. Big Cuckoo also had to discard a Bear Witcher in round 1, which means there's only one Bear Witcher left in the deck. We might see a situation where the Birna Brand bricks the Quen again, or at least makes it a lot worse. I think there's still a Junod in there for Big Cuckoo as well.
Yeah, it's a dangerous game to play here, given the fact that Birna Brand can, maybe make some of those cards worse. But he's going to take the risk here, drawing into
there's one Witcher.
Junod.
Okay. Just one Witcher so far, but the Sunset Wanderer is still drawing another card, so one chance left.
Look at what's happened here. Look how much extra range that Sunset Wanderer has had over that of KAMS. Now, obviously, the Morkvarg is going to make short work of that. But look at KAMS. KAMS found some more trash. Unfortunately, the cards that he's picking up here are not helping him at all. He is just kind of cursing the stars here. Unfortunately, he's just kind of wondering where all that luck went. Well, my friend, it went to those Angolems, it seems. As the cards you're drawing off the top here, you're peeling them right off the top of your deck, and they are pure, hot, organic, free-range garbage.
Yeah, the Red Haze, though, will maybe be able to kill something like a Coral, but KAMS is... Yeah, he did find that Angolem 50-50 luck, but like you said, the superpower doesn't control outcomes that are not purely 50-50, so... Not able to find like a Fuchsia or a Heatwave or a Birna or a Scal even.
And this might cost him the entire tournament here, as he does have to take his time to figure out how he wants to go through with it. BIGKUKURUZINA is well in the driver's seat, and he's going to start with a leader charge that does find the Coral. Is it Junod time? It's Junod time, and we're going to kill the Coral. And KAMS just playing with, it seems like he's playing with half a deck almost. He's got to put the Morkvarg down the old-fashioned way, and he's just kind of face-palming it, saying, "Dear God, I can't believe that this is happening to me."
Big Cuckoo's reaction to that was like eyes widening, like, is this really happening? Kind of glancing around.
Wait till you see his reaction when Pellar is the next play, and then Red Haze is the one right after that. Or those are the two next cards that come through. Big KK is going to be like, "No, that's a tough one. Ooh, that's a tough one."
Big KK, what are you doing?
Yeah.
He discards the Quen, yeah.
You got to get rid of the Quen. That was just bad news bears all the way around. And there's the Pellar. Look at Big KK, eyebrows raised, saying, "Ooh, this feels real nice."
27-point lead for BIGKUKURUZINA with the extra card with the Sunset Wanderer still to come.
And think about it this way. I mean, even if you had the Bloodthirst for the Gutting Slash, but the Gutting Slash would have killed the Morkvarg, and the Morkvarg would have just come right back.
Yeah, that's true. And look at that extra bleed. Extra bleed on the Hammond. Doesn't get quite the 4 bleed because there's not enough time to play Morkvarg Heart of Terror and then Hammond afterwards. But the lead is now 50 points, Blake.
Yeah, I mean, this is going to bite real deep into it. Keep in mind, Cam still has 3 leader charges left. That red haze is looking ugly, though. But you do have double mushy truffle. It seemed like everything was going Cam's way. Finding the mushy truffle in round 2, some carryover value, but the cards were just not behaving. All those big boy cards that Cams was looking for were all wearing lead shoes, friends, at the bottom of the deck. They didn't want to bubble up to the top. Big KK, look at him. He's just waiting. He's got a massive lead here. He's just waiting in the wings. He's going to boost up, get that Bear Witcher up to a safe play, and here comes the rest of it. Double mushy truffle in 3 leader charges is not enough, as Big KK is going to go to the semifinals of Gwent Masters with a card left in his pocket. Doesn't matter. Big KK wins the first quarterfinal match of Gwent Masters Season 3.
Yes, and Big KK survives the hard target lineup.